Hello and welcome to Big Talk live from the nation's capital, Abuja. My name is Edikan Michael. Tonight, we'll turn our attention towards the House of Representatives making some recommendation for creation of new state in Nigeria. And are those that are coming out with a question, what is the original rationale for the state creation? If we must look at our our constitutions in the process of reviewing all of that, the issues of creation of more state in Nigeria looks a very touchy one, arguing a lot of persons are actually basing the argument over the tribe in Nigeria, state and agitation for state creation to an exalt in all of these states for a better and unified country. But away from all of that concern, in a discourse, state creation is to enhance physical development. Of course, that will issue some ego or pride to some part of the nations, the power, authority, achievement of self-esteem and control of public wealth for some personal aggrandizement and even bordering the marginalization concern. All of that are the debates over the balancing the number of states within the cardinal structure in Nigeria and agitation for creation of more state. As some part of this country marginalized, that is the question, do we need more state or we need better governance in the respective state that we have in Nigeria? That is a projection that we'll be having tonight. Just last week, the House of Reps had made move to create more state. Let's begin. I'll show you some of those names there proposed from the North Central. From the North Central part of the country, they have proposed Benue, which is Benue Allah State, which is to be created from the present Benue State, and also Okun State from the present Kogi State. Okura State from the present Kogi State, also the Confluence State from the present Kogi State, Abba State from the Benue State, and also Apa State from the present Benue State as well, the 37th state, namely Federal Capital Territory. These are the 7 states that are projecting from the North Central of Nigeria. When I get to the Northeast, what are the itemization from the Northeast? We have Amana State from the present Adamawa State. We also have a Katamgum State from the present Bauchi State, Savannah State from the present Borno State, Muri State from the present Taraba State. These are the few states that have also been proposed to be created from the Northeast. Now to Northwest. The creation of a new Kaduna State from the present new Kaduna State from the present Kaduna State as well, Tiga State from the Kano State, Kanji State from the present Kebbi State, Gari State from the present Kano State. These are the 4 new proposed states for the Northwest. And now again into the Southeast part of the country, Etiti State from the South Geopolitical Zone, Adada State from the present Enugu, Urashi State, also from the Southeast, Olu State. We also have Abba State, which is from the present Abia State, that have also mapped out right there on the south. We have Okoja State from the south. We also have Warri State from the Delta State. We also have Bori State to be created from the present Rivers State, Obolo State from Rivers, and part of Akwa Ibom State. That is a projection from the south side. And of course, the proposed state from the southwest, we have Torebe State from Delta, Edo, and Ondo State, Ibadan State from the present Oyo State, Lagun State from the present Lagos State, Ijebu State from the present Ogun State. We also have Lagun State from the Lagos and Ogun, part of Ogun and Lagos, and Ijesa State from the present Oyo State, and many others. There are total number of 31 proposed and recommended state for new creation. But away from that number, there are those that are really having a concern about the question, the rationale behind this deliberation. If we're looking at our constitution and the House of Reps committee members that are to review all of that are making this recommendation, would that address the problem of this country? Tonight, I'm being joined by the Executive Director of for the Masses Foundation. Oluwatomosin Adebokola is my guest tonight on the show to assess and, of course, analyze all of these developments in the country. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Yes, this time physically. Good to have you here in the studio.
To be here.
Thank you so much.
And what an interesting time we're living in Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria is so interesting. You agree?
A lot of events.
Nigeria is so interesting. We always have something interesting to talk about. And that brings me to what you read, 31 new states.
31 new states.
So how many are we going to have then? That's 36 plus 31. Oh, that's not much at all. Just about 67 new states. How many does America have again?
Last count?
50.
About 50 of them.
Oh, because I know they're still trying to.
Yes, they're trying to create more states.
So they have 50. How much land do they have in America? So you see,
they have more population than Nigeria.
Population. So I usually would like to ask questions like, what is the rationale behind the idea that creating more states is the solution to our problem? And I'd like to draw a bit of statistics. How much people do we have? How much people do they have in China? How much land do we have? How much land do they have in Russia, in China? You see, we need to begin to look at ourselves from the lens of development and also from the lens of viability. When we talk about developing, a lot of people tend to interpret it as, I need to develop along, I need to have a state where my people are my people. Do you get it? My people and my people are relating, and they administer resources and they have their own thing. We talk about our people, but then we forget that there are 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria. What it means is, in a place like Osun State, I grew up in Osun State. I grew up in Ijesha, to be exact. I saw Ife, Ijesha State there. And my people can come for me and say, oh, I'm not nice. I want them to, I'm not supporting them creating our state where I grew up. I'm not from there biologically, but I was born there. So I am from there at the same time. So we have the proposal for Ife, Ijesha State. Can I shock you? Do you know that Ife people and Ijesha people do not speak the same language, the same dialect? Our dialect, our tones are very close, but they're not the same. Now let's broaden it a little. It's even easier to create an Ijesha state and then merge some parts of Ekiti state with it, because then the language is closer for some people there. And then when you leave that area and you go towards Ondo a little bit, do you know that Ijesha land extends all the way to Oweno? So when you get to Oweno, you find a place where they call Oweno Jesha, Oweno. So on that singular small bridge, there is a demarcation of two communities. One part of that same one community belongs to Osun State, and the other part across the bridge. So he's saying left and right. Left, one state. Right, another state. One community, same place. Now this is what happens. They speak the same language. So when you recreate that state, you see, some things are just complex. That's the thing. We all speak different dialects from community to community to community to community. We don't speak the same language. So when you create a state and then you make it Ife Ijesha state, some people will now come and say Ife people are, the capital has to be in Ife, right? Then they will say because Ife people, that's the place where Yorubas, come from. That's the place, that's the place where the Olodumare created the earth. The earth started from. You see, all of this will just create another complexity. Go then to Ondo State, because now they want to create a state, Sorebe, if I'm correct, from the Delta Ondo, which is going back to the original Bendel and trying to create another one from the 3 states that came out of Bendel, and then create an extra state to make it a 4th Bendel state. So let's look at it again. Do these people speak the same language? The answer is no. There are more than 20 ethnic groups. Just ethnic groups. Just within that small region that you're looking at. You want to put them in one state? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? They don't speak the same language. So, see, the rationale behind this idea, we need to check it properly. If we have not, if we haven't decided that we want to produce or create 250 states, then we're not scratching the surface, because then you'll be creating one state for each ethnic group. So let's go back to those who are talking about it, like those who are talking for it. I agree with them. A new state will bring development. In Ilesha, we never saw certain kind of roads, dualized roads, until we were in Osun State. And even while we were in Osun State, it took years, more than 10 years, to find simple roads that we grew up with dualized. Can I shock you further? It was just the government of Governor Ademola Adeleke that is dualizing Ijesha Land Road, and I mean the street road in Ilesha itself. which is a very old community, almost as old, in fact, almost one of the oldest in the entire Southwest. Recorded in history, recorded in the Ifa corpus. That's how old. But now we're talking about how old the state is. While we're still looking at the fact that that state is yet to develop properly, we still have the entrance to Ijesha land from Ife as small as a single carriageway road. And now you want to create another. Is the reason why that's road that way? The deputy governor was from that community for years and nothing happened. Nobody dualized that road. Do you think a creation of a state would do that for us? A single man came and felt like, oh, let's do it. One single man.
That is leadership.
That is leadership. That is looking at where the people were suffering, because it was a death trap.
Right.
People, you have to know how to navigate that road to be able to use the road properly. So I agree that creation of states brings about, development of some sort. But how viable are the current states that we have? How viable? Do you want to look at it? Should we look at how viable? Do you know how much revenue they're generating? How much money they're owing banks within and outside the country? Do you want to look at the debt profile of states in Nigeria currently? Over 26 states are owing so much, not generating enough. And then we want to create more states. And then we say cost of governance is too much. Are we not talking about cost of governance again? How do we talk about cost of governance and then you want to create more responsibility for the executive when the legislature is not taking the responsibility of cutting their own expense? Who's cutting the expenses of the legislature? Why are they not coming up with bills to say, I slash my salary, I reduce my amendment of office, I'm no longer going to be doing constituency projects, and I'm no longer going to be lobbying for projects for my constituency under any guise. We're no longer going to be adding extra to the budgets when the executive brings it. We're just going to take whatever. When are we going to have that conversation? The cost of governance in Nigeria is humongous, and we can't afford it. How much of our budget for 2025 are we actually how much revenue? How much are we generating? How much are we using for debt servicing? And then what is left? What is the deficit there? Do we have the money? No, you and I, let's talk about it. We're journalists. Do we have the money? We don't have the money. So when you create a state, you have to fund them. You have to fund the states until the state becomes viable. Now, of the current 36 states that we have, tell me, if you can give me 20 that are viable, I'll clap for you. Please give me 20 that are viable.
I mean, we are still trying to track the numbers of the state that are
actually viable.
That are viable.
And then we want to create 3 new states out of Benue State.
I mean, when they look at what was the motive for the last increase of states towards 36, it was also to see how they can, unify the country, or go towards the southeast. They were concerned of trying to create more states from that.
Southeast needs an extra state, right? People are talking about it. And then when you looked at the southeast, there were 4 proposals, if I'm correct. There were 4 different states that they want to create in the southeast. If we take a look at that number again, I think it was 4 for the southeast, right?
Yeah.
So when you do that, you create one more state, because the southeast has 5, right? The South has how many too? I think 6.
Yes, South has 5.
Currently?
The current state of South about 6 of them.
They have 6. So the Southeast is the only state in Nigeria, the only region that has 5. So if we're thinking about creating one extra state for the Southeast, for the sake of what you just said, see, I'm not saying we should not create states. That's not what I'm saying.
No, we're looking at even the. I mean, we are trying to. Can we pause a bit and take a mind towards what we have? A proper time for us to review and look at where we are coming from, and where possibly we'll be going to, because that is where you can actually measure how the growth, and development within the country.
Yes.
Because when you look at a production. And those that are having attention and concern that some state are blessed with these, some state are better off with these and all of that, because there is a comparative advantage, in development. What are we tapping from this area and all of that to get a workable economy?
Okay. So the way the federalism works, it's still resources from all the states still tapped and goes to the federal. They will share the money,
Distributed.
and then, then we share the money, and then everybody has their share. I mean, that's the model that we practice as we speak. It's not a bad.
Is it working?
I wouldn't say it's a bad model. I mean, it's equitable justice, trying to make sure that nobody is left behind. And I totally understand that, Michael. I totally understand that. But can we have conversations like, are your local governments working? Why are the people talking about creating states? Why are they not talking about creating local governments so that development can further reach their people? Okay, so typically, the poorest, and I'm talking in terms of local government that doesn't generate so much money and gets something from the federal government as we speak. The poorest of them would collect nothing less than 200 million every month. So let's talk about it. The federal government already does not have a lot of money, and then let's create more local governments. Wouldn't it be better to make the 20 states in Lagos 57? Wouldn't it be better to make the Kano states 40? Make it into a 50 state, and then go into communities where people actually need help. Imagine that you have a local government chairman that is from, say, a typical environment here, Abuja Municipal. All of his energy will be concentrated on basic infrastructure for his people in Abuja Municipal. That is going to be his concern. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
But now let's assume that we make Abuja into a state and we divide Abuja into two or something, and then we now find a way to now give it a governor. The governor is going to first of all start from, if he remembers where he comes from. It would take, serious the plight of his people, because his people will keep calling him every day the king of his village, and his father will remind him of something, and his people at home and all that will happen. So it will start from his home, right? And then there are about 20 local governments under him. How many do you think is going to attend to within 4 years? That's why you see that some local governments may never get to smell development like other local governments within this 4-year space of a governor, 4-year tenure of a governor. But if you have a local government chairman that attends to your needs, you have 7, let's assume you have 7 wards. Your local government chairman can divide his 3 years tenure into, say, 6, and divide his own local government duties and say, I'm focusing on these people for now, and then I'll go. So when I do road, I will make sure I do 10 across 6 zones. Then I will go from road and I'll do healthcare center. Okay, so these people already have, but it's not equipped. I'll do this. I need to build one here. It would begin to look into the direct needs of the communities, because he is amongst them. He is from there. He is closer to them. We should be talking about creating more local governments in places where Ekiti State is typical. Ekiti State is a state where you have communities. I mean, you have villages here. You move here, there's another village. You move another 5 kilometers, another village. They have so many Ekiti people, and they are different. They've existed for as long as their people can ever remember. I mean, they've had kings. Maybe some of them have had kings maybe for like a century plus. So you know that they're not new. They're not creating new communities. They are small. They're petite, but they exist. They are ancestral to the people of that area. Now, they have local governments. Maybe the local government headquarters is 7 villages away. But you pass through all of these villages, they have bad road. You pass through all of these villages, there's no primary healthcare center. You pass through all of these villages, they don't have, none of them, not all of them have schools. So you have some whose children have to go to secondary school 3 states away, 3 villages away, 3 Ekiti communities away. So one is maybe Ola Ekiti, the other one will be Ise Ekiti, the other one will be something Ekiti. The children here don't have secondary school, but they have the nearest secondary school to them 3 communities away. So they pass through the bush to go there, and then they become vulnerable to insecurity. But if you have a local government that is closer to them, don't you think the local government chairman
And that's the extent
understand?
that's the extent we have that tier of government.
That's why we have it. The 3rd tier of government in Nigeria has been turned into just an inconvenience.
Well, some reports have also said that some local government chairmen are not even residing in their local government areas.
Oh my God,
So if we have more than 100 million, allocated to a local government, should we not have a concern that there will be mismanagement?
This is one of the reasons that I like to have conversations like this. Without talking about state creation, let's talk about local government creation. And then we'll talk about local government creation. Can we talk about how we hold them responsible? Our people are not aware that your local government chairman actually does not have any space to hide. If he's collecting the money, can you write him every month and ask him to do a breakdown of his expenses? How many local government chairmen in Nigeria, as we speak today, can present an audited account for the last 1 year? Any one of them should send it to Global TV. Anybody that can present his own, send your audited accounts for your local government. Every kobo generated, both internally generated and your revenue allocation from the federal government. If you can present an audited account, we should clap for you. We should celebrate your national TV. Not many of them can do it. As a matter of fact, not less than maybe 20% of them can do it. Because there are no checks and balances when it comes to the local government level.
They're on bed with
Creation, but let there be checks and balances. There's supposed to be a legislature at the local government level. Are they working level? Are they working? The only time you see them work is when they want to rubber stamp whatever the local government chairman has done. I went to a local government one day and I saw local government councillors prostrating and kneeling down before the chairman. Do you know what they were doing? Gave them, of course, some good package and they all came to say thank you. So let's ask them the question, is that your job? Is that your, do you think that particular local government, do you think they can ask the chairman what to spend the money on? They can only make noise. They won't be able to do anything. We need to have clear-cut separation of powers at the local government level. That's the kind of conversation we need to be having.
I mean, let's look at the viability of state, because I don't argue. Can we base this conversation towards economic viability away for consideration, economic consideration, away from the political consideration? Because if you're looking at, some person said, we are marginalized. I mean, we need to have to be on our own. Those are some part of the arguments some person are having. But we look at economic viability, because you can mention maybe Lagos, you can mention Rivers State, you can mention Kano State, Ogun State, and some state, about 10 of them, you know, you can say.
I like the fact that you mentioned
about 10 of them that are economically viable, they're putting a whole lot of effort. But let's look at, because why they're able to do that is because they're able to generate, their revenue successfully. How do state be able to harness this potential? Can they take when they have not invested? Because Mr. Peter Obi, presidential candidate of Labour Party, said we can't even tax the population when you've not invested on this population.
So let me ask you, when you now put infrastructure in place, or if you have not put infrastructure in place, can you ask them to give you money? Okay, so Lagos will generate money. Just about a few days back, the governor announced that Red Rail, the newest rail project that kick-started last year, was going to double, and I think was going to increase the number of trips it does per day to 4, I think in the morning and 4 in the evening. I think it used to be 2 each, now it's doing 4. The Blue Rail was doing about 500,000 people. So let's look at it. It means the government of Lagos State generates, each time you go on a trip, they have a calorie card. You tap in, minimum of 500 naira, and multiply 500 naira times 500,000 people, and then I have another one, and on another route within the state. So the more they generate from the transport sector, the more money they make. Isn't that correct? Now, in more than...
And so a person from Lagos are also residing there.
Do you want me to talk? In my candid opinion, Lagos State should just buy from Kobakpe all the way to Lagos, to Bega. Just buy that part.
They will extend development towards that.
Just extend development. Just buy it. Just the same way Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland. Abi, if somebody wants to buy a country, why can't a state buy part of a state?
People will come out to protest that.
Do you know that if they talk about majority, 2/3 majority of the people in that area and their representatives, both in the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, at the local government level, what I'm telling you today, they will find that kind of majority. They will find it in such a quick succession that people will be wondering. The people of that area will jump on board the idea of Lagos buying them. Yes. Go to the Ado Delta, part of Ogun State as well. It's the same thing. They have not smelt development in a long time. My foundation did a trip through that place July, August, and it was an eyesore. For more than 2 days, we were on bad road. Bad road, no asphalt, nothing, just dust. Heavily industrialized area. Heavily. So the companies that are there are only, you know, doing whatever they can do in that area because they've been there for a long time. Just imagine what it would take. Forget that. I think this school is called the North American University. Is that the name of the school? Something American University is in the north, right?
Yes, Adamawa State.
Is in Adamawa State, right? Why are people going there? Do you know how much money they pay in that university? Why are people? That's the question. Why are people going there? It's because it is safe. Because the person who owns the university did not just start a university. He made sure that they were safe. Do you understand? Adequate security. Every state in Nigeria has something that is sellable. Real estate, for example. We're talking about viability. And we're talking about the seaports. Let's even look at the seaports. Let's look at real estate. Housing opportunities.
Are we centralizing our development? Because there are those that are really bothered. It seems that we're concentrating, you know, one area or the other, and thereby leaving some other state vulnerable. Like for instance, Lagos. Instead of going to buy Ogun State, can Ogun State also have their own capacity to do their best?
I'm telling you by myself, and they can quote me and then go back and fact check me. From the government of Otumba Gbenga Daniel, Senator Gbenga Daniel now, after his tenure was Senator Ibikunle Amosu, right? Another 8 years. And now, another 8-year tenure of Prince Dakwa Abiodun. Am I correct? 16 years if it comes together. That's 8 plus 8, and then this is 24. Akute, Alagbado, Ado Daughter. The entire Ado Daughter community made up of over 32 towns, not villages, towns with kings, not bales. So, you know, you have a community that will have a king and then they will have maybe like 10 bales under each of them. Towns, they don't have tarred road, no tarred road. Ibafo is a community on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Ibafo is quite popular. I mean, everybody should know where Ibafo is. Immediately you leave MFM University and the school and the church.
So do you feel if companies should go towards those areas, they can be developed?
Just imagine, now they have Chinese companies in Ogun State towards the expressway. Off this part, but then going towards the lesser domesticated areas where people don't live. Companies are now more on that axis. So Ogun State is even generating more money, selling land, right? So shouldn't they now be investing it? So see, I think it's about the kind of leaders that we have. It's not about the viability.
The creation of even,
this introduction. Thinking about these opportunities. If you come into power, if you come into a position of power without already having the mind of the people right there, you do not know their needs. You come into power, your recommendations will come from your aides, the people that you surround yourself with, who are obviously not going to tell you the truth, because he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Even if they have the truth, they won't tell you because they are scared. They don't want to lose their jobs. Many of them will come and say, sir, let's dualize this road. When there are communities, hundreds of communities in your state that don't even have a normal tarred road. It's not a luxury. It belongs to the people. It's something they should have. It's a basic infrastructure. When you have communities in your village, in your town, in your state that doesn't have a school, there are many states in Nigeria like that. You don't have states. For example, we have states in Nigeria that can feed other states. Do you know that the combination of Niger, and it was quite interesting from the North Central. I said that it is Kogi and Benue that want to divide. What happened to Nasarawa? What happened to Niger? Niger has so much of land. Niger in land size is what is the biggest in Nigeria, if I'm correct. So if you have Niger not wanting to divide, do you know that Niger State can feed us? Niger State producing food alone, if they concentrate, if the governor of Niger State makes it his duty, do you understand, to make Niger State into another food basket. If the Benue State that we know as the food basket resuscitates its agriculture, if they solve the issue of the livestock and the farmers and the problems that they have, and they focus on producing food, do you know that food will not be expensive? Benue yam is so expensive, it's so scarce. Now, we're eating Abuja yam. What happened to they have farmland. They have farmland. Fabrics are from the southeast. People in Lagos are making all kinds of kaftan of different colors and shades. Most of this fabric come from Aba, right? So what is wrong with developing Aba into an ultra-modern society, a cosmopolitan city, a trading city where everybody comes to buy. People go to Paris to go and buy fabric and lace and all that. Aba can become that. Just invest in it.
All right.
I mean, see, there is no state in Nigeria, in fact, in my opinion, that is not viable. There is no state.
I have a follow-up question to that, because if you look at those that are having a concern about state development plan, they feel that if we have a state development plan, every government that comes in and exits, even the successing government can also look at, stepping onto that shoe and also enhancing some of this development. Because what we find, for instance, the recent one is that of Edo State. The former governor of Edo State was more of an investor kind of governor, signing memorandum of understanding, even when APC said that he was signing more MOU without anything on ground and all of that. But you see, this government have also come in, and then they are not following that path. They are actually going their own path and developing their own agenda. Do you feel this is workable for state? Because from 1999 to date, if we look at democracy in this state and how far they have gone in terms of development, it might work as if there is no plan.
You see, I'm laughing because I think one of our biggest problems is the kind of democracy that we copied. You see, this American democracy that we copied. It may not have been where we started from.
Is that an homegrown? You should look for an homegrown democracy.
You see, the nature of man is such that everybody wants to take the glory. That's the problem. In a polygamous setting, somebody cooked very beautiful soup, right? And then somebody bought a very beautiful dish and said, this is what we'll be using to serve our husband. When you present the soup or the food to the man in the evening when he's eating dinner, the man will say, oh my God, this food is so sweet. But because the other wife is also there, won't you thank the person that bought the plate? Can't you see that the plate is also beautiful? Do you understand? We are too jealous of one another. And that's why I said our leaders need to have the mind of the people. If there is no continuity, we are wasting resources. People need to get to a point where they know that. And we need to start choosing leaders who understand that irrespective of what agenda you have as a person, you have your own personal ideology, right? And then your state has its own maybe set up plan. You need to step aside, put yourself aside, and then put the people on the table. My predecessor did 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it beneficial to my people? If it is beneficial, can we retain it? Can we complete? I praise my governor, and I'm talking about Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The first set of things that Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu did is completing the projects as far as the projects of our president when he was governor.
So it looks like Lagos have a plan.
Forget the plan. Let's talk about what happened. Yes, there is a plan, right?
Those that said Lagos have a plan.
Yes, Lagos has a plan.
So every governor that comes in follows suit.
Lagos has to follow the plan. But doesn't mean that the governors don't chart a path for themselves as well.
Also true.
And then just to be able to say, I initiated this project and I did it. The Lagos State Plan was the red line, which we all grew up to know in Lagos. We started a long time ago. Sanwo-Olu came up with blue rail, came up with green now. He's talking about orange. He's talking about blue. He's talking about, he's done blue, he's done red. He's talking about green, going to the Ekpe axis. He's talking about orange. He's talking about these different rail projects. It's still interconnectivity, right, of the different communities in Lagos and making it easy to transport via rail, right? But he came up with the idea of calling it different names. So it's a concept that cannot be removed from that project. His name cannot be expunged from that project. The rail system is in the master plan, but he has succeeded in, making it colorful a little bit and doing something of his own with the original project. He didn't derail, right? He just made it better. In my candid opinion, he took projects that were half completed and he completed it. He took projects that were semi-completed, 85%, he completed it. Those that were 50, he completed it. Because why do you waste resources? Do you know how many federal government buildings are in Lagos that are just there? Not completed, abandoned. They can be sold to make money. They can be sold to generate good money, and then use the money to develop something massive for the people somewhere else where they need it. There is opportunity to grow But people need to stop being individualistic in their mindsets. You know, when we have two different political leanings in this country, you know what it means? When people come out, they say, because he does not belong to my political party and we have chased them away from power, everything they did is wrong. Then we find a way to start blacklisting and talking down on every single good thing that they did because it just made sense to us. So let's celebrate President Muhammadu Buhari, who got into power, and every project of President Goodluck Jonathan, he finished them. He prioritized finishing the second Niger bridge. That bridge was supposed to just be abandoned, Abi. You should just leave it, Abi, because it's not his project. Of course, they will come up with the political conversations around, oh, they wasted money, okay, it was appropriated for blah, 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 blah. Yes, but they completed it, right? Which is what we want development and we want consistency. Don't do something halfway. Your predecessor has spent over 20 trillion naira, maybe borrowed funds, doing something. You now come back and say, whatever I did, they didn't think about it very well, we're not doing it again. Well, I want to do my own. It's not responsible. No responsible leader should be doing that. So if there is a good project there and you get into power, you're fortunate to have gotten the mandate of the people and you're now in power. Why else would you want to sweep it under the carpet and say you're not doing it again?
So do you support people initiating projects without completing it?
Don't you think there are projects that you can just not complete? Let's look at it that way. There are projects that you may not be able to complete, not because you do not have.
So for initiating them, you had good intentions for initiating them.
The people needed a general hospital, for example.
But from all
you started the general hospital, you built it.
But from all we've seen,
you handed it over. But you buy equipment.
We've also seen people initiating this project just because they want to amass wealth out of it. For instance, look at people that they have no business for airports. They have started and investing more funds and allocation to airport creation.
They have not started. They already own the airports because their predecessor built them an airport. And people were complaining and saying, we have airports, what are we doing with it? There are states like that, yes, I know. They have airports. So
they will need that in future, but it wasn't a priority.
So let me ask you this question. So you see why I say our leaders need to put on their thinking cap. You don't produce food, right? You don't have good roads, yeah? And cargo airport or cargo train may just be one of the best best investments for you. So you decide to do a cargo airport. Please, which community should you do it? The heavily industrialized community or the education community?
Industrialized community.
Okay, so you now put it in the education community that is about 3-4 hours drive to the industrialized community.
Because it's from the governor's entire district.
So see, our people need to begin to think. When you also want to propose a project to that governor, as somebody who serves under him, you owe it to your people. Because you collect salary, that money belongs to the people. You're being paid from the coffers of the people. Recommend projects that will serve the people. Don't just want to put the name of your governor on it. If you put the name of your governor on it, the next governor may not like him and just remove his name and put his own. Right? But do a project that will serve the people. If you do a cargo airport in a state that is not producing anything, that is not exporting anything, that is not selling anything, what exactly have you done? You've invested in the future. God help you. Are you saying that that runway would last the number of years before that state becomes heavily industrialized? Can we just focus on where we are good as a people? If your assignment, if your state is known for food, produce food. If your state is known for rubber, produce rubber. If your state is known for ceramics, produce ceramic. If your state is known for agriculture, that should be your focus. If your state is not industrialized, what are you doing? Who are you selling it to? Why do you want to? Because if you heavily invest in infrastructure, you've made the lives of your people better. But then you must do not just infrastructure. Just imagine that you now do something like a resort center, something that would attract tourism. You have opened up your state for visitors. You have created transportation systems that would work. You have brought hotels into that place because you have tourism. Hotels will naturally come and invest. You will make more money from taxes. You will make more money. What do they consume in your state that the cargo airports would need? So who will be operating the cargo airports? You have invested. Yes, it's a good investment, but it is not an investment for the now. That's what we're talking about. So when you are also putting projects in place, Can you do projects for the now? Your people need a school, you are doing hospital. Your people have 7 hospitals and they lack basic equipments. Yet you go there and you build another hospital. Shouldn't you rather uplift one of those hospitals that you already have to tertiary standard? Shouldn't you rather invest in buying equipment and transforming the lives of your people, making sure that healthcare becomes a business, a viable business, not just for the state, but attracts medical tourism from other states to your state? Shouldn't that be your investment? You now say, okay, because I must do my own project, you built another hospital, wasting the money of the people, rather than spending money on putting equipment in place and employing more doctors. You rather want to spend it on another frivolity. I mean, that's why I say, see, our leaders, we shouldn't just, it's not too late. We're 2 years into this tenure. And for some, we're just few months in. For Edo State, we're just few months in. It's never too late to make a U-turn when you're in the wrong direction. First thing, look at what your predecessor has done.
What you can do.
What is viable. Keep that.
All right.
Contracts that have been given out, monies that have been paid, and then you say you cancel it. The person that has collected the money will not refund your money.
But are the agencies really checking awarding of contract? Because it looks like that is another problem we're having. Some contracts have been awarded, and some of the contractors abandoned that, even with the public funds.
I'm surprised that I've not seen Dr. David Umai on TV in recent times talking about abandoned contracts. Maybe he has succeeded in getting and rooting all of them out, and maybe now no more contracts are abandoned. So can the state governors and their commissioners for works begin to do the same as well? If you have an abandoned contract, if they bore you well, you abandon our contract and you have been paid 70% of the money, irrespective of whose horse is God, carry the person, throw him in jail, ask DSS to help you to pick the person up, arrest him, shut down his station, shut down everything that he owns, shut him down.
That they can return
Get
to site.
your money back.
Or return to site.
Or return to site.
As Minister Wike.
If we don't hold people to account, we will keep wasting money and time. Time is very expensive. Once lost, it can never be gotten back. Somebody collected your money 2 years ago. He was supposed to do a road project. There have been many deaths. In fact, the man should be held to account for the number of deaths that have occurred on that road because he abandoned it. Because the government will be held to account. The people they awarded the contracts to also will be held to account. If you do a shoddy job and you were given a contract, there should be a number of years signed that as a contractor, if I give you this road project, it must last us at least 15 years. If this road stops being functional within this 15-year tenure, promise that you will do, at least you will be responsible for 70% of the rehabilitation of that road, unless you can prove beyond all reasonable doubt that we spoiled it ourselves. And if you failure to do so, go to jail or we cut off your hand like they do in China. We need to begin to have laws that are so strict that people will be scared. See, contractors will be scared of collecting your contract when they know that there's death penalty, there's one penal code attached to failure to fulfill the mandate of that contract. People will be scared. People won't just be collecting your money. People collect money in this country and go home to go and sit down because they know that I will just give one excuse. Then they will now go to court now and all of them will start fainting. When they faint now, we'll say that they are sick.
A lot of concern in respect to our state agitation for state creation. Many states do not have a state development plan just to be able to enhance succession plan as well in terms of driving development in the area. Before we can now take a bit to look at creating more states, can we look at economic viability? That is what Oluwatomisin Adebukola, Executive Director of Hope for the Masses Foundation, has shared with us tonight on the program. Thanks so much for joining us on the program and giving us strong insight indeed. Everyone,
thank you for having me, Michael.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everyone, we'll continue to track and know fully well, the direction